I'm Kelly Jennings, CEO of Powerband Solutions. Powerband is a cloud-based provider of auction, inventory, and finance solutions that make buying, selling, and financing vehicles more efficient. Powerband Solutions trades on the TSX Venture Exchange symbol PBX and on the OTCQB symbol PWWPF and on Frankfurt symbol 1ZV. For more information, please visit us at powerbandsolutions.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is market historian Bob Hoye. He's the chief investment strategist for chartsandmarkets.com. Welcome back to the show, Bob.
Yeah, hi, Jim. It's good to be with you.
The U.S. in August added more jobs than expected, while Canada unexpectedly lost over 51,000 jobs. What does that tell you about the economies of the two countries?
Oh, yeah. U.S. is in a boom. It's the extension of a very long recovery since the last bad times in 2009. But I think a boom can end dynamically anyways, but this has had extra added to it because of the Trump change. You've gone from the Obama administration, which was probably the most anti-business administration in a couple of generations, into the most pro-business administration one can imagine. And the tax cuts are having an effect, and it's moving the decision-making from the government sector back into the hands of companies and individuals, which is a good thing. But it is dynamic, and it's in the media. Now, on the Canadian side, with the Trudeau government, unfortunately, they've gone back into the late 1960s socialism, and the condemnation of pipelines and all this sort of stuff is just messing up something awful. You're getting Alberta crude, for example, is priced at $38 and during the week, when crude oil in the States, the West Texas price was $70. And that difference is due to the fact that the authoritarians in Canada don't like pipelines. And so Alberta and Saskatchewan oil and, hydrocarbons from British Columbia can't be exported to the degree that they can be produced. So, again, more political insanity. Canadian economy not doing so well because of public policy, and the U.S. economy booming because of appropriate public policy. But our job, Jim, is to watch for change, because this is where one makes money, is when the markets change. And we'll go back to the U.S. election, which was November the 8th, 2016, and the market had been down. October is sometimes can be dismal in the markets. Well, this wasn't so dismal, but it was down such that we got a springboard buy on the S&P. That was November the 3rd, the week before the election results. So then you went into the party. Well, first of all, it was a shock, and then once it got past that, so you had a combination of a favorable stock market and the pro-business administration. So we called it rational exuberance, because the market was exuberant, and because it was exuberant about the right issues, we called it rational. Now, that got out to last summer, where it had been run for a while. The exuberance was very good, so we just backed off on calling it rational. And so you again have had another leg up in the stock markets here, and it's at a time when if you've got an overdone market, you can get a correction in the fall. And one of the things we're looking at to determine that now is the yield curve, which everybody's worried about because it's heading to inversion. Inversion is where short rates are higher than long rates. But we've got the curve back to, I think it's 1857, and the conclusion is that the curve need not become inverted to end the business cycle. Just approach and then reverse. And if you take the curve out from the 5 years to the 30 years, we could call it working on a reversal, but not quite reversed yet. And then the other one that has been very helpful for us at the top in 2007 and also at the top in 2000 was not just the yield curve, but also the credit spreads, the difference between high-grade bonds and low-grade. And it was favorable into June, and it's working on a trend change, but yet not enough to really say that things are going to go down. So let's put it this way, Jim. As far as we can determine, the business boom in the U.S. is on. The stock boom has been on and is beginning to falter. And the things that we like to see behind a bull market for stocks is a bull market for industrial commodities. That's not on anymore. That was supposed to end in May, and it did. And then the other is the positive action in the credit markets, and that has been positive, but it's not so positive now. So I think the market's getting set up for a big change.
We'll have more with Bob Hoye right after the break.
Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications, patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Hi, I'm Douglas Mason, President and CEO of Magnum Gold Corp. Inc., MGI on the TSX Venture Exchange. A 2015 drill program on the LH property intersected high-grade gold, including 16.9 meters of 13.58 grams and 11 meters of 20.66 grams per ton gold. A follow-up drill program is planned to further evaluate previously identified subsurface high-grade gold mineralization. Please visit our website at magnumgoldcorp.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Bob Hoye. Bob, the Chinese government is now offering tax breaks to industries hit by Donald Trump's tariffs. Was that expected, and could that weather the tariff storm?
Oh, I couldn't have guessed that one. So it's the government reacting to one thing. And again, I will say that with Trump, through the decades, because the U.S. economy was so vibrant, any of the trade agreements were always helping the outer or lesser countries more than really what was required, and eventually to the U.S. advantage. So what Trump is attempting to do is reduce protectionism and tariffs that have been more in favor of the out country than the U.S. And then, of course, that then gets certain politicians and governments into like a schoolboy push me and push you kind of operation, and so the Beijing government has reacted with some of this stuff, as in Canada's Trudeau is getting pushy when he's got nothing to push with. So unpredictable, but it's happening, and what we're concerned about is that after a boom, there always is a recession, and that is when the time that you get unemployment at home And, of course, at the moment in the U.S., this is unthinkable, where you'd have concerns about employment. But anyways, it can happen. And then that's when the real protectionism comes in, because domestically, politicians have to try to do something about their own unemployment, and then there are always academics from university who will have a recipe to protect jobs in the country, and that is protectionism, and that is bad. That's yet to happen. That's ahead of us yet, Jim. So, but we've got other boom things that maybe not booming anymore. One here in the States about luxury real estate, and the prices are getting slashed. Where high-end real estate market has seen huge price cuts in recent times. So that side is changing. And then you mentioned that in Vancouver that the sales volume on residential properties has dropped hugely. And oftentimes, and how often do you get a peak in real estate? But anyways, that's one of the indicators where the sales volume, I think, can decline before you get any major price declines in the residential real estate. So, I remember 1980, a huge boom in real estate in Vancouver. You had a huge boom in oil and base metals, commodities, fabulous boom in gold and silver and crude oil, and then they all turned south. And about the same time, that's when Vancouver real estate residential peaked and headed down. And by the time you're about the mid-1990s, high-end properties, such as British properties, they had fallen to 1/3 of the high. And then normal West Side, ordinary, average type homes in Kerrisdale, they'd fallen in half in price. So this is Vancouver, which can, when it's hot, and when it's cold, it can get cold. So it'll be interesting to watch the price charts on residential real estate to see if the actual price follows the decline in sales volume. So that's one for us to watch, Jim.
Well, Toronto and Montreal claim that their real estate sales went up 8% year to year in August, whereas Vancouver was down over 30%. Vancouver just leads the way, doesn't it? So they can probably expect the same thing?
Yeah, it led the way on the boom, where Vancouver was moving very quickly, and it seemed that Toronto wasn't, and then it caught up. And we should also recall the real estate boom in the United States that essentially peaked out in 2006. And Asian buyers had been active in the U.S. market, but their market got so overbought that when it broke, it either killed or chased away the Asian bid. Whereas in Canada, and particularly Vancouver, the price didn't break like that, so the Asian bid was more or less constant because it was such a friendly market. So when the correction or hit comes into the Vancouver market, I think it'll be quite substantial, but I'm not predicting when. Jim, I think your point about sales volume dropping it could be anticipating a drop in prices, but not yet. We'll watch for that. It may be in conjunction with further declines in commodity prices. You've had a tremendous drop in copper. Lumber itself had a bubble this year where it soared up to, $650 and then whacked down to $400. And it's not looking good. So the commodities weakening, which they have been, is also a sign that one should pay heed to. If it really was a global boom, basic commodities would be going up. But and at the moment, the U.S. is booming, and we'll just have to watch for that to change.
We'll have more with Bob Hoye right after this.
Arctic Star Exploration, operated by a team of proven mine finders, is focused on diamonds in Finland and the Northwest Territories of Canada. Work programs are underway in Finland and planned for Canada this summer. Arctic Star trades on the TSX Venture Exchange symbol ADD, on Frankfurt symbol 82A1, and the OTCQB symbol ASDZF. Please visit our website arcticstar.ca or call us at 604-689-1799.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Bob Hoye. Bob, Tesla's HR and accounting execs have now quit or been resigned, as I say. What does that tell you about what's happening with the company and its future?
Gosh, Jim, this Tesla, it eventually will go down as one of the great market stories. Fabulous promotion. Musk pulled all the strings in government superstitions on, electric generation through solar cells, and then also electric car. And I saw a couple of years ago that the taxpayers, the governments have lent them $4.5 billion. So he has scammed government superstitions about electricity generation and about electric cars. And it's coming apart. Now, the last 6 months, his own behavior became a little radical, or erratic, that's the better word, Jim. When at a phone conference with corporate analysts, he said, "Oh, that's not a cool question. I'm not going to answer it." And then I started to think about it, and I think the guy personally is hugely long and leveraged. Now, he has been able to make money on every deal that he's been in, virtually. And maybe this one he's not. So, and particularly erratic picture today about him smoking dope. And so then the departure, so the stock earlier today was down 8%. But the key thing is that it took out all the lows back to May. So with today's hit, you can say the stock is breaking down. And here's another bit of irony in it, Jim, is that about 3 weeks ago it was announced that one of the Saudi Arabian and sovereign funds had come in and bought something like $2 billion worth of stock. Now, normally that would have been a treasury issue where the investor gets his position in funding the company, but no. This was taken out of the market. So it was another one of these setups intended to squeeze the shorts. And I would suggest it maybe be one of the most over-shorted stocks on the board. But he's been able to jam the shorts a few times. So, but in the stock has broken to a new low here, well, at least over the last few months. The action is shifting over to where the shorts are making money and the longs are not. And if that can continue, eventually it'll break the stock completely. And I, for one, would say, yep, I would be on the sidelines applauding. I don't have the nerve to try and trade that. When you see an overshorted stock, it's dangerous. So, Jim, Tesla will go down in history as one of the great stock market stories. So, actually, in 1929, there was something mindful of that. In London, there was a promoter-operator guy by the name of Clarence Hattree, and he had parlayed a few deals in the previous 3 years to 1929 where he'd made some money and was a recognized promoter. And he was going to take over a big steel company in England, And early in 1929, as I recall reading the story a while ago, he'd had all his financings and promises and everything set up to do this acquisition. And then as each month progressed, various promises didn't appear or disappear or were pulled, so that he was then strung out high and dry because he was personally leveraged and lived very well. So he even had the nerve to go through to get to the governor of the Bank of England to say that unless he personally gets some help, if he went down, it would take the London market with it, which was a bit egotistical. But anyways, he did go down, and the London market did fail, but it wasn't Hattree causing the London market to fail. It was all part of the end of the bubble, which in New York ended in September 1929, and then everything went down. So, but it was one of the key stories with a fabulous bubble and with its demise. So here we are now. We've been in a fabulous bubble. The Tesla has been a key story, and it looks like it's beginning to fade. So we'll have something to talk about maybe over the next few weeks.
Of course, Tesla has that giant battery factory as well. Is that separate from his cars?
I don't know, Jim. I never took the time to look at all the divisions but usually one thing is leveraged against another, and both are, without the government subsidies, it wouldn't happen. And this is where I think the politics are changing, whereby, and certainly in the U.S., all these subsidies are going to be examined and probably reduced or discarded. So it'll be nice to see whether electric cars can survive on their own without subsidy. And of course, I think that this will happen because we're in a world of changing politics where people are getting a little more practical with what happens to their tax money. And the reform movement in the U.S. is well underway. And perhaps in Canada with the new premier of the province of Ontario, he's on a reform movement. I mean, I've called it a popular uprising. And perhaps this is just starting in Canada. So we live in very exciting stock markets, Jim, and also extremely exciting political markets. And one should the politics as a market.
And I should correct myself there. I think I referred to Elon Musk as Tesla. We're talking about the company. Also, the real Tesla wasn't that much of a businessman either. Brilliant mind when it came to electricity, not so much when it came to the business regimen.
Right.
Bob, let's keep dreaming on.
And dream on yourself, and we'll look forward to talking next week, Jim.
My guest has been market historian Bob Hoye, Chief Investment Strategist for chartsandmarkets.com. If you have any questions for Bob or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@howstreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of Howe Street Media Incorporated.